were blue collar workers and in construction, and he followed in their footsteps. And I mean, that guy was, ever since I met him, my stepfather, but he's the one who raised me. Ever since I met him, all I've known is him getting up at 3 a.m. and coming home at 7 at night, and then, doing what needed to be done around the house, whether that was, putting up the Christmas lights, cleaning up the backyard, whatever it was. He was just that guy that would always get what needed to be done. And he created a life for me and my family that we never had to worry about a roof over our head, money, to put food on the tables, clothes on our back. And it was never a worry because he was willing to do what it took to provide that, and to see someone who, technically wasn't related to me, but still treated me as if they were their own, and to work that hard to provide, like that really, like, I don't know, just sparked something inside of me. And we weren't rich by any means. We aren't rich by any means. But we also weren't poor. We were, middle class, but at the same time, we didn't struggle. We did struggle with money at times, but, it was never something that I had to worry about as a child. They always, my parents always took care of that. But I saw that, and there would be arguments, there would be stress. You could, as a child, you can kind of feel the emotions that are going on within a household. And, I didn't like that, because I knew that at the end of the day, if money just was not an issue within our household, that a lot of the problems and the stress and the arguments and the things that I saw within the household would just go away. Mm-hmm. And so I understood that at a young age. I'm not really sure why, but once I understood that, I just always had this drive to be the one that was able to provide for my family, to say thank you, and so that they didn't have to worry about those things anymore. I just wanted, to provide just like they provided for me. And a lot of people say that, money is the root of all evil, but in my opinion, money's not the root of all evil. People are. Money's just a tool. And if you think otherwise, then you probably just don't understand how money works. Mm-hmm. That's just my personal opinion on it.
Well, I'm a student of David Meltzer, and he'll talk about money in terms of, money allows you the opportunity to do things for others as well. So definitely it doesn't have to be the root of all evil. It gives you the opportunity to do things for others,
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another thing. I think the ultimate fulfillment that I get is when I'm able to help other people. That's something I really like to do. So that's why I really want to, and I work towards building something big, something great, so that I can make an impact on a large scale, not just a small scale. There's plenty of people that, help on a daily basis, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. They do what they can, but what I want to do on a large scale. Yeah. So that's what maintains that flame and keeps that flame going.
I want to go back to your parents and some of your upbringing, because I've met your father and know your father, stepfather from the neighborhood. What advice would you give parents that are listening to this show? They've got somebody coming out of high school and trying to figure out where they're going to go in life. What advice would you give to those parents that are trying to figure out, what to say to their kids as they go through this decision-making process?
It's super cliche, but I always find cliches to be, the truth. People say these things because, they have meaning, they're valid, and it's, be supportive of what your kid wants to do. As they say, do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I think that's really true. My parents, they've never questioned what I've done or what I've decided. They've only been supportive. Whether it was wanting to start a clothing line or, wanting to go to a 2-year university rather than transfer straight to a 4-year to save money and keep out of debt. Whatever that decision may be for you or your situation, just be supportive, because, not everyone's meant to do the same thing or what other people think you're meant for. So I have friends that can't read a book, but can build an engine with their eyes blindfolded, and it just really depends on the person and the individual. And, you, as a parent, you may not understand it, but you need to be supportive of it. Because at the end of the day, only that individual is going to know what they're interested in, what they're passionate about. And I truly believe that people need to do what they're interested in and what they're passionate about, because if you don't, you'll never really achieve your fullest potential. You can't compete against the Lance Armstrong or Michael Phelps if you're just not as interested in or passionate about it as they are. You can't go in the ring with Conor McGregor if you don't have the will and drive like they do, because they live and breathe what it is that they do. So if you're not pursuing or, what you're interested in or passionate about because of what other people are telling you or expecting from you, I think you just need to listen to your gut and your instinct, and you need to do what's fulfilling for you and what you're passionate about, no matter what anyone's saying or what the noise around you is saying, because at the end of the day, it's your life, your decision. No disrespect to your parents, but you just need to let them know, hey, look, like, I really think that this is what I'm supposed to do. And, if not, I'll fail, but I'll learn. That's
Yeah.
just the way life goes. And that's how you figure things out, by trying things out and by failing and by moving, building upon those failures.
Mychal, you talked a little bit about your parents being very supportive, in terms of your stepdad always taking care of the family and being supportive of you guys. What are some of the characteristics of your family unit that have made you who you are? Because since day one, I've always seen you as a very positive, uplifted kid on, like I said, on the neighborhood. Something about you attracted me to want to know who you were as a kid, and that comes from your parents. What other characteristics? I mean, are you that family that sits around the dinner table and tells stories, not in front of the TV? Or, were you a soccer kid and your mom was a soccer mom? And what are some of the other things that you did? Because I've got two little girls that I want them to grow up and be more like you than some of the other kids that I've seen out there that are different.
At the end of the day, my parents are just great people, right? My mom, at one point, she was a single mom, so it was just me and her. And, again, she did what she needed to provide for me and put a roof over her head, clothes on her back. But she also just has this never ending, affectionate, loving personality that just, she never gave me a sense of, does my mom care about me? I never had to question anything, It
Mm-hmm.
was just, it was almost overwhelming, like too much. But, and then my stepfather, my father, he is very old fashioned, and to be honest, growing up, having a step parent in the picture, is not always a smooth transition. Me and him butted heads furiously for years, up until probably when I was in college. But at the end of the day, once you get older, as people always say, you begin to understand and appreciate it. If it wasn't for him, the things that he did, I wouldn't be the person I am today. He's very old fashioned, by the book. It's all about responsibility and respect. And, as a young kid, being told what to do, when to do it, and all these things,
Mm-hmm.
it's not what you want to do or what you want to hear. So, you fight against it, you rebel. But at the end of the day, it was that structure and that guidance and that affection and that love and that support, that knowing no matter what I do, at the end of the day, those people are there for me, gives a young kid that sense of relief and that safety, that, hey, if this happens, those people, they still always have my back. They will always love me. They'll always support me.
Yeah.
And I think, that's kind of what shaped me as a person today. Just that, those characteristics of, that never ending love, that support, that, hey, yeah, I might be hard on you, but it's for good reason. And you don't understand it at the time as a kid, and I didn't understand it for years, but, now that I'm this age, looking back on it, of course you understand. It's like, oh, well, that makes sense. No wonder you wanted me to be responsible and do my chores, because that work ethic is now something that, is instilled in me, and that reflects on my work as, a business owner. So just all those things ultimately add up and create the life in which you live now or in the future.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about blue collar, your dad being a blue collar worker and his dad being a blue collar worker. What does blue collar mean to you in this day and age as a business person now out of school? Is that an important? I'll call it an industry for the sake of the call, but is that an important arena still, or how do you feel about that?
Well, for me, what blue collar means is typically, something of more manual labor, construction, landscaping, things that are physically demanding. Nowadays, there's more of a white collar scene, working with all the emerging technology, a lot of working on computers and, sitting behind a phone or things like that. But for me, blue collar will always be those harder, physically more demanding jobs, just because I've seen firsthand what they've considered to be blue collar versus today. And, it's drastically different.
Yeah.
No one understands nowadays what hard work is, in my opinion, because hard work is, those 16-hour days, 6 to 7 days a week that my dad was putting in and still sometimes puts in at a construction site in 95-degree weather in northern Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So for me, my opinion of what's blue collar is skewed. But, in my opinion, I mean, blue collar, we're never going to be in a world that's not going to need blue collar workers. I think they do provide very valuable services for the community and for society. I just think, it will evolve, with technology. It will change, become more efficient. But yeah, so blue collar will always be things that are more physically demanding, in my opinion.
Mychal, I don't want to talk about politics because we don't talk politics on the show, but I do want to. I want to visit the outskirts of that, and I'm just curious. At your age of 25, what is your overview of the political environment that we're in today? Do you feel empowered? Do you feel like the future of the country is going in the right direction? Just outline thoughts. Like I said, I don't want to dig into politics, but I'm just curious as a 25-year-old, how do you feel about the future and what you're seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of politics. I don't think a lot of people are really like the concept of it. I think it's great to have the freedom to have a say in politics, because there's a lot of countries that don't have that. But I think politics has become more of, for lack of a better term, entertainment than it is for the betterment of society. I think, with all the skewed media and all the money to be made and all the angles to be played to make that money nowadays, is, working against the betterment of our country rather than for it. If the money and the media were cut out of it, I think we would be in a lot better situation. I think a lot more progress would be made. But that's never going to be the reality of it. There's too much money to be made, and that's how the media makes their money, is by playing these stories and angles.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think people need to look past all of the smoke screens and clouds in the media and realize that we all need to come together, and we need to simply just accomplish things, get things done. There's so much, arguments and contradiction just for the sake of who's a liberal, who's a Republican, or what side you're on. And it's almost like people get lost in the name tags and the groups, and they forget that the whole reason for this is for the betterment of everyone. And they get so caught up in that they just want to choose sides, and they just want their side to win. So it doesn't even matter what the topic is or what the objective is. They're just caught up in the smoke screen of, we want this person in office because they're a liberal, things like that. So I think if we can get past the smoke screens and the name tags and the misleading media, then we would be much better off as a nation.
So, and hey, by the way, great job not getting into politics, but yet the outskirts. Thank you for that. Are you optimistic about the future?
Absolutely. You have to be.
Yeah, I agree. So tell us about some of your career choices, and you talked about starting a clothing company. Tell us how that went, and then where you went from there.
Yeah, so like I was saying, you got to kind of do what you're passionate about, what you have interest in. I, at the time and still to this day, I mean, the gym and being active is something that has just always been very close to me. It's something I have great interest in and I'm passionate about. And I also wanted to start a business. And at the time, there was like just beginning to emerge with social media and some of these little brands